Welcome to Greybeard Philosophy, bringing ancient wisdom and daily practice to the inner life and the wilderness as we journey one practice at a time. I'm Brian Winsor. In the last reflection, we explored the first hunger of the soul, the hunger for applause on the validation treadmill. That hunger asks, who saw me? In this reflection, we turn toward the second hunger, the hunger for more that lives on the hedonic treadmill. This hunger asks another question, what lack I yet? It's the question the rich young man brought to Jesus. It's also a question that still walks through modern life. It walks through careers and families and churches, schools, bank accounts, social media feeds, our homes, our garages, gardens, calendars, and even good works. What lack I yet? It can be a holy question when it's asked from the right place. What remains unfinished in me? What attachment still governs me? What part of base camp is not free? What's the next faithful step toward wholeness? Asked that way, the question can lead toward formation of the soul, but the same question leads to an insatiable hunger for more if viewed through the eyes of scarcity and comparison. What lack I yet so I can keep up? What lack I yet so I can stay ahead? What lack I yet so I can feel successful, secure, admired, or complete? That is the hedonic treadmill. It's the hunger for more that follows every meal. It begins with the quiet belief that peace is located just beyond the next acquisition. One more achievement, one more title, one more purchase, one more improvement, another completed project, more financial cushion, one more proof that the life I'm living is worthy. But more is a strange food. It gives energy for a while, then it leaves the soul hungry again. Tyler and the clover. Most mornings now, I walk a country road in northern Alabama. Carly, my faithful dog, usually accompanies me. The road bends between oak and maple trees and blackberry vines and pasture fences and thick summer vegetation. The cows with their calves graze in the fields, and birds sing from the tree lines, and squirrels chatter and scold from the branches. It's a simple walk, or at least it should be. If I'm not careful, my mind slips back into the old current of productivity. What needs to be done today? What should be measured, improved, organized, built, planted, cleared, written, or repaired? The body's walking the country road, but the mind is already back inside a management system. Now, one morning, my youngest granddaughter, Tyler, came with me. I love our walks together. There isn't sufficient language to describe the love I feel for her and my other grandchildren. Now, having said that, Tyler is nearly 2, with all the characteristics of that phase. She has very little sense of ownership. Much of what she sees, she assumes belongs to her, and what she wants, when she wants it, whether you know what she wants or not. And like most toddlers, she can be impatient, stubborn, loud, delighted, and utterly convinced that whatever her brother or sister's holding must be better than what is already in her own hand. So, this isn't a sentimental argument that children are pure and adults are ruined, but there are moments, especially outside, when her inner life seems wonderfully uncluttered. On that walk, her small hand wrapped around my finger, we moved along the grass, past clover and garden beds, and suddenly she stopped with a gasp and pulled me downward. She pointed to a clover blossom where a large bumblebee was gathering nectar from each little floweret. So there we crouched. We watched the bee work. Finally, it lifted and flew away. We stood and took a few more steps, and then she stopped again and pulled me down with her. Another clover, another bee, another gasp, another whole world. Later, near the blueberry bushes, she grazed on blueberries with delight. She carefully selected the dark blueberries and left the green ones, but with each berry she seemed newly amazed, as though the world had once again produced a miracle right at mouth level. That is presence. Not purity, not perfection, presence. Tyler, you see, hasn't learned yet to turn every moment into evidence. She hasn't learned to compare gardens, measure productivity, compete for status, calculate legacy, or ask whether the blueberry harvest proves anything about her worth. She can receive a berry as a berry, a bee as a bee, a bird as a bird. Adults, we have a harder time. Somewhere along the way, many of us learned to turn life into proof. The walk becomes exercise data. The garden becomes output. The house and the truck become status. The child becomes a report card. The career becomes identity. And the bank account becomes security. The calendar proves our importance. The good deed becomes evidence that we are useful. Now, that doesn't mean building and producing, improving, organizing, accumulating, or optimizing are wrong. They're not. The issue again is motive. Why am I building? Why am I improving? Why am I planting or teaching? And why am I accumulating this? If the act is rooted in goodness and beauty and nourishment, responsibility and love, it can be part of formation. But if it's rooted in comparison and competition, display and insecurity, or the hunger to accumulate enough proof that I'm finally enough, then the act begins to sour. The garden may still grow. The house still may rise. The chickens may still be fed and eggs gathered. The writing may still reach people. But something in base camp has been pulled onto the treadmill. How we learn to run. Most of us are handed treadmills before we know their names. Some are handed to us by family expectations, some by school rankings, some by religious systems or career ladders, some by athletics or beauty, income, productivity, social media, or even the quiet comparisons that live inside neighborhoods and extended families. Run faster, earn more, achieve more, prove more, become more impressive, gather more evidence that you matter. My version came through a mixture of good things: faith, family, service, education, leadership, military achievement, and the desire to be useful. None of these things are bad. They formed me. Many were rooted in sincere sacrifice and duty. But somewhere along the way, I began to confuse visible signs of worth with worth itself. And worse, I tried to pull my children onto that same treadmill. My sons resisted it. At the time, I experienced their resistance as danger and rebellion and loss. I wanted them to follow the validation pathway I had inherited. I believed that I was guiding them, but looking back, I can see that I was pressing them toward a treadmill that had already weakened me, while believing that I was saving them. I lost their trust and presence for a season. The memory still instructs me. You see, the treadmill doesn't only exhaust the person running it, it can recruit that person into becoming an unknowing agent of the treadmill for others. Parents can place children on it. Schools can place students on it. And churches can place believers on it. Organizations can place leaders on it. And cultures can place whole generations on it. That's why the question matters. What lack I yet? When asked from scarcity, that question does not free a person. It enslaves him to the next mile marker. The question that reveals attachment. A young man came to Jesus and asked, "Master, what good thing shall I do, that I may have eternal life?" Jesus answered him simply, "Keep the commandments." The young man responded that he had kept them from his youth. Then came the piercing question from the heart of the young man, "What lack I yet?" It's hard not to admire the question. That question's been ringing through my spirit for many years. You see, he wasn't careless. He wasn't morally indifferent. He wanted to know what remained. But Jesus didn't tell him to add another credential, another religious performance, another possession, another public achievement, or another symbol of worth. He placed his finger on the attachment. Go, sell, give, come, and follow. The young man went away sorrowful because he had great possessions. That sorrow tells the truth. He didn't simply have possessions, his possessions had some claim on him. They had become part of the architecture of his identity, safety, status, and imagined completeness. He couldn't pass through the narrow gate while carrying the identity his possessions had given him. That's where the hunger for more becomes a wilderness condition. It convinces the soul that lack is always external. If I only had more of this, then I would be whole. If I could only gain that, then I would be secure. If I only finished this project, then I could rest. But Jesus didn't answer, add one more thing. He answered, release what has you. The Buddha would recognize the same problem. The language would be different, but the diagnosis would be close. Craving, attachment, grasping, the mind that keeps manufacturing lack, even when the outer life is full. Now, non-attachment isn't neglect, it's freedom. It isn't walking away from love, it's walking away from bondage. Can I lead without needing leadership to validate my importance? Can I tend the garden without needing the garden to define me? Can I care for the chickens without needing my systems to prove my competence? Can I write without needing the writing to secure my importance? Can I teach grandchildren without needing the role of grandfather to validate my legacy? You see, that is the harder work. Good things for the wrong reason. A quiet life isn't automatically a free life. The treadmill can follow a person anywhere. It can move from the boardroom to the hen house, from the conference room table to the kitchen table, from the pulpit to the living room, from performance reviews to parenting, and from social media metrics to church service, from school grades to retirement portfolios. The scenery changes, the inner hunger may not. When I imagined a quieter life, I think I imagined simplicity would come with the zip code. A rural road, family nearby, gardens, chickens, trees, pasture, grandchildren running across the land. But a person can bring an unquiet soul into a quiet place and immediately begin trying to improve everything in sight. I can feel it in the garden. I plant for nourishment. I plant for beauty and legacy, hoping my grandchildren will know the feel of soil in their hands and remember the taste of blueberries and snap peas and tomatoes and whatever else the earth gives us. I plant because I love learning how things grow. Those are good reasons, but even in the garden, motive can sour. It happens when the language changes. Look what I planted. Look at my garden. Look how my plants are growing. Look what I produced. You see, when I, me, my, mine begin taking over this sentence, I can smell the motive turning. Sometimes the hunger for more isn't greed. Sometimes it's fear that enough will not be enough. The garden teaches me that slowly. And so does the hen house. Responsibility without applause. A neighbor graciously permitted me to take over care of his chickens. 27 hens, 4 roosters. There's something grounding about entering the hen house in the morning or the afternoon and hearing the clucks and gathering eggs, checking the water and noticing the flock. One fluffy hen is often still in her box when I arrive. Her wings and breast feathers fill the nest. She chortles and pleads as though asking me to leave some eggs to hatch. Good morning, Mama Hen, I say. How many eggs this morning? I know you want to keep them, but this isn't a place to become a mama. Thank you for laying these eggs. We will enjoy them. Then I carefully reach under her and gather the eggs while she complains. There is a simple holiness in that kind of daily work. But even there the seeds arise. I improved the watering system. I improved the feeding system. That work was for care and reliability and stewardship and efficiency. But if I'm honest, I also enjoy improving systems. I see something wobbly and I want to make it smooth. I see inefficiency and I want to correct it. That ability has served me well in leadership and schools, business, and my life. But the seed of pride can sprout there too. Doesn't anybody see this amazing watering system? Doesn't anybody notice how many eggs I brought the family? Does no one appreciate how much better this works now? Those are weed seeds, and when those weed seeds thoughts arise, I see them, I smile at them, and I say, I am not watering you today. You see, the chickens don't need me to be impressive. They need clean water. They need food. They need presence. They need me to understand that they don't exist to validate my hunger for achievement. I learned that one morning when a large white rooster attacked me from behind. Pain shot in the back of my calf. Something was jackhammering my knee, and his spurs were raking me down my leg. I looked down, and I saw him striking. Finally, he got off me, and I limped back to the house bleeding and in pain. For a moment, I considered rooster dumplings for dinner, though I suspected it would be too tough even for that. Then the Stoic question came. What's in my control? Not the rooster's instincts. What's in my influence? My preparation, my posture, my response. So the next day, I returned with a small squirt bottle filled with water. The rooster attacked, stood my ground, and I sprayed him in the face over and over again and firmly said, back, rooster, back, rooster, back. Well, he backed away, shaking his head in confusion. Old Rooster Cogburn and I now have an understanding. If he comes near me with murder in his heart, he gets sprayed in the face. This, too, is base camp training. I don't own that space. It isn't a validation station to prove my worth. I have influence within it, responsibility within it, and limits within it. The chickens are my daily school in simple responsibility without needing more. That's stewardship, not accumulation. You see, the difference matters. What has me? So, I return to the rich young man. What would Jesus place his finger on in me? The issue isn't whether education or service, military experience or business leadership, family, home, land, gardens, chickens, writings. The issue isn't whether those are good. Many of them are deeply good. The question is whether they are free from the treadmill. Do I hold them in stewardship, or do they hold me in identity? This is where enough begins. Enough is not laziness. Enough is not lack of ambition. Enough is not quitting the work of stewardship. Enough is the condition of the soul that can receive without grasping and building without bondage. Enough asks a different question. What is already rich here? Man, the answer is everywhere. A toddler gasping at a bee in clover. Blueberries darkening on the bush, grandchildren with dirt on their hands, a hen chortling over eggs, a rooster who teaches boundaries better than a leadership seminar, a writing desk where thoughts become clear, a country road where Carly reminds me that presence is not performance. What lack I yet? Perhaps less than I think. Perhaps the question isn't, what do I still need before I can be at peace? Perhaps the real question is, what do I need to release before I can be at peace? The problem isn't what I lack. The problem is what still has me. The hunger for applause says, who saw me? The hunger for more says, what lack I yet? Base camp answers, return. Look carefully. Name the attachment without shame. Water the seeds of abundance, contentment, love, and stewardship and freedom, and let the weed seeds go dry. Build what is good, plant what nourishes, feed what depends on you, teach who is before you, write what may help someone beyond you, but do not ask any of it to make you finally enough. Back to the clover. And perhaps that's why Tyler's little hand around my finger stays with me. She didn't stop at the clover because it added anything to her status. She didn't crouch beside the bumblebee because it proved her worth. She didn't reach for the blueberry because it completed an identity. She simply received what was there. A clover, a bee, a berry, a morning walk with Grandpa. Nothing needed to be upgraded before wonder could enter. Nothing needed to be possessed before joy could rise. Nothing needed to be compared before the moment became enough. Maybe that's one way base camp begins to nourish the true hunger of the soul. Not the hunger for more, not by abandoning the garden, the chickens, the work, the writing, or the children we teach, but by learning again how to kneel beside one small clover without needing it to become evidence of anything. That's the true soul's hunger, to kneel beside a clover in fresh wonder. What lack I yet? Perhaps in that moment, less than I think. Our internal practice, what lack I yet? Now remember, before entering base camp, we practice shamatha. We stop our habit energy. We calm our spirit. We rest our body, and we heal. So, sit comfortably or stand still. Make sure the phone is away and out of sight. Open your hands and quietly say, I am enough. I do not need more before I can return. 5 slow, deep breaths. Breathing in, I am calm. Breathing out, I'm enough. I am calm. I am enough. 5 breaths. Next, let your breathing return to a normal rhythm. Notice any hunger for more recognition, more comfort, more security, more control, more possessions, more influence, more proof. Don't add shame to it, just simply name it. This is the hunger for more, and give it a name. Then ask, what do I still believe I lack before I can be at peace? Is this a holy question or a comparison question? Reflect on your current conditions and ask, what is already rich here? A final prayer of pure intention. Let me walk for the deed, not the applause. Let me receive the trail's honesty without complaint. Let me notice hunger without obeying it. Let me see what I cling to without shame. Let me ask internally, what lack I yet? And listen with a humble heart. Let me see the riches of my life through the eyes of abundance, and let me bring the abundance of my life into base camp. Thank you so much again for listening to Greybeard Philosophy. If this reflection helped you name something in your own life, consider sharing it with someone who may be walking through a similar wilderness. Not as advice, not as correction, just simply as a trail marker. You can share the post, send it to a friend, or pass it along with one question. What do I need to release before I can be at peace? Sometimes a shared reflection becomes a quiet guide for someone else's next step. Now, our next movement in the Greybeard framework turns from modern wilderness conditions, and we'll begin the intentional movement inward to discover your base camp. Until next time, be patient, be kind with yourself, return to base camp, and learn something for the next trek.